Welcome to the Body Peace Podcast, formerly known as Her Story on a Plate. This podcast has always been a space for deep, nuanced conversations about food, body image, and the stories our bodies carry. But as conversations have grown, so has our mission.
That's why this is now the Body Peace Podcast, a name that reflects what we're truly here for, helping you step off the battlefield with your body and move toward more compassion, connection, and ease.
Each episode will bring real, honest dialogue with your hosts, me, I'm Jennie Kramer.
And me, Nina Manolson. We'll also be joined by guests whose personal stories and professional wisdom offer new ways of thinking, feeling, and being in your body.
We're so glad you're here. Welcome to the Body Peace Podcast. Hannah, we're so excited that you're with us today. I thought we'd start off by asking you, how did all of this come about? How did your social media come about? And how did you come to putting your story out into the world?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me, Nina and Jennie. I'm so excited to be here. I've been through some experiences overseas that were difficult. And when I came home, I kind of wanted to journal my healing journey, whatever that looked like. So I'd come home and I was really struggling with some disordered eating. I'd had a pretty difficult toxic relationship beforehand with an older guy. We were just in very different places. And I came home and I was very stressed, anxious. Yeah, pretty much all the time. And so it really took some significant therapy and support from my parents and my family and friends to kind of be able to bring myself down. But I felt really tired of hiding. I come from a small Jewish community in Calgary. We've less than 10,000 people, and my mom was born and raised here. And so, we know so many people and we're so blessed in that way. But it also really felt like I was putting up a facade. And I had started an Instagram about maybe 5 or 6 years prior to that, more about confidence and working out. But it was definitely like highlighting weight loss more so, but how you can do it in a healthy, positive way for yourself. But that was a private page. I was not trying to grow that at all. And I kind of said, screw it. I'm really tired of pretending like everything's okay. So I publicized it. I deleted all of my posts, which I'm still not sure how I feel about it, like 7 or 8 years later. But yeah, I just started sharing what was going on for myself. And I always told myself, if it makes a difference to one person, even if that one person is me, I'm happy. Even if I do this for a year and in 7 years I look back, once hopefully, I'm married and have kids, and I'm able just to see the progress that I made for myself, I feel blessed to be able to do that. So I started, and then here we are, like 7 or 8 years later, and I've made amazing relationships with people online. And it's really turned into a gig that I love, and it's
so
great.
generous, and so courageous to put your story out there. And I love when you say, I'm tired of hiding.
Yeah.
I know so many of our listeners have a similar wish. What was the hiding about?
Yeah, so I'm somewhat of a black and white thinker, not in terms of the world and how I see things. I love nuance, but when I see myself, I'm extreme. I need to do everything or nothing at all, and it's hard for me to find the middle ground. And so one night I was sitting, I have, a video in my head. I was sitting with my amazing mother, Deborah, on a couch in my parents' house, and I was crying to her, and I was saying, Mom, how can I be that girl who's strong and that girl who's surviving and thriving in different places of her life, but also really genuinely struggling, having a difficult time, going through real life, hard, tough things. And she said, you don't need to be one or the other. People exist with so many different facets. Life is hard. Even if you're so incredibly blessed, you can see things positively. Realistically, we love to think that we have so much power over our life, right? No, we can choose this, or we do this and then this won't happen. But I don't think that we have much power at all. And so the
idea of two things being true at the same time, we used to call that dialectical behavioral training. Now we're going to have to call it Deborah behavioral training.
Love it.
She was right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's something, Hannah, that you're saying in there around that visibility, right? I'm tired of holding shame and being quiet about it. And I'm going to share my process so that I drop the shame. And when I look at your social media presence, that's the thing that strikes me so much, is really facing our body shame head on. And I'm wondering, how you see the impact and how you see your conversation around shame.
Yeah, so I think, once I started opening up to different people, sometimes my bosses, older men in their 60s, I was speaking to a bunch of different people just personally, day-to-day conversations about what I had gone through and how it made me feel. They opened up. You know, older women, older men, my age, younger, people were so comfortable. And so, you know, shame is all about keeping things inside, right? It's
Yes.
not about sharing. It's not
Well
about
said.
being vulnerable, right? It's about holding inside because it's a yucky feeling. But the more I shared, the more that shame diminished. And I really think that it helped others too. And so, you know, it totally has been a journey of a number of years now. But how embarrassed of your body can you be if you post it online for millions to see? You know, and
Well, that,
really,
well, that's actually the point, right? I mean,
Right.
there was a moment where you made a decision, which was, okay, my body is exactly what it is. It can't be any different than it is in this moment, and I think I'm going to share it with everyone because why?
because what are we waiting for? Like,
Right.
what are we waiting for? I've seen
Right.
so many women. I was at the Dead Sea, probably a 70-year-old woman who refused to get in her bathing suit or even just go into the water, refused to be in pictures. For what? For
Right.
what? The
But
outcome of the
let's
day.
Right, but let's go get into that. Like, what are we waiting? Like, you're saying, what are we waiting for? Let's get out there. But I want to get into the head of people that are that 70-year-old woman who is saying, no, no, I couldn't possibly be seen in a bathing suit.
Well, I think that's the whole thing is like the intentionality behind what you're doing. I'm 31. I know that's still so young, but I feel like yesterday I was 16, right? And for sure, as we get older, as life gets more crazy, things catch up, and then you're blinking and you're 70 at the beach, right? And your grandkids are yelling at you to come into the ocean. I cannot wait until then. I simply cannot. And I think for people listening who are like, okay, but where do I start, right? How do I make that jump? You listening, I think, speaks of volume. You're curious. There's something that isn't sitting right, just going day to day with
Yes.
what's going on with how you see yourself or your body. There's something in there.
Well, it's a journey, right? I mean, certainly yours is and has been. I think for many who listen to us and participate with us and others like us, they're really trying to figure this out. And they don't want there to be shame. They don't want there to be hesitation. You know, I hear all the time from folks that are, let's say, you know, midlife and plus, that they really have this regret that their children have no pictures of them with them because they have millions of pictures of their kids, but none with them. And so now at this stage of life, they're sort of stepping up to be in more photos
I love.
because they realize, well, okay, one day I won't be here. My children will wish they had pictures of me with them. Oh, and by the way, I won't care what people think of how I looked in those pictures at some point because I won't be here to hear the comments. Now but it takes a moment to get to that stage, right? You're far along that course at a much earlier stage, I must say.
One of the things we're talking about is our relationship to this idealized beauty. And one of the things that, Hannah, you consistently post about is, and this is what I look like. And I'm not measuring myself against some cultural ideal, right, that we're waiting to suddenly have all our body shame drop. It's like what you said. Okay, how ashamed can I be if I'm posting for millions to see?
It's tough work. And I can say I started by, I had a mirror right next to my door. And whenever I would leave, it didn't matter how I felt. I would look at myself and tell myself I'm beautiful and smile. And that became kind of like a ritual of mine. Really, it did not matter how I felt. It was something that I did.
It's
Until
brilliant. I just have to tell you, it's brilliant because there are millions of people who make sure they have a mirror on their way out the door so that they can determine how their day is going to go. If they don't look the way they would like to, it's going to be a crappy day. If they look okay and passable, well, okay, I guess I can have a good day. The fact that you actually created this practice of self-affirmation, whether you believed it or not. See, the trick that nobody realizes, but you do, is that if you say it enough, guess what? You start to actually be it. So, brilliant idea.
Thank you. Because there's too much in the world, right? Like I said, like we like to think that we have so much control of our day to day, but there's so much that goes on once we step outside. But if you can have that little pocket or bubble of 30 seconds with yourself, it can make such a difference. I still do it today. And sometimes I have a more difficult time with what I see in the mirror, but I still do it. I refuse to have that last thought of yuck. I can't. We have one life. As far as we know, one life.
So far as we know, yes.
This is how you want to spend it. You know, and
You're saying something else too, which is the messages that we give our own bodies. You know, our bodies listen. They pay attention to the words we use. They pay attention to our intentions. They pay attention to the feelings that come with the words that we use. So I think it makes a difference when we can be much more encouraging, compassionate, positive, loving of our own bodies.
I just love that you use the word feelings with like that are connected to the words. And I want to touch quickly on body neutrality, because I think some people have a really difficult time jumping from feeling like crap about themselves for years, right? And then going to body positivity or self-love. I love the word self-love more. Self-love to me isn't me feeling amazing about my body every single day. It's that it's more than that. Like, our bodies carry us for our entire lives. You know, if we're able to zoom out, which I love the term zoom out for numerous parts of my life. But if you're able to zoom out and again, be intentional, what do you want? You know, and it's lifelong and there's ups and downs and it's not linear. For me at all, it's not linear. But what do you want? I cannot look at myself and hate what I see forever. I can't.
Well, you could, but
costs
it's not
too
a great
much.
idea. So
No,
I'm
it costs-
hope we're inspiring others not to do that either. Nina, you were
Absolutely.
gonna
It
say?
costs too much to be in that painful relationship with ourselves. It's constantly tearing down. And so I want to use this conversation also to segue into your relationship with your partner. Because one of the things that you do beautifully is how he is in relationship with your body, how you're in relationship to his relationship with your body, and how to invite someone into that space of self-compassion, that space of support that you need.
So, you know the term you can't love yourself or love somebody. I'll start again. You know the term you can't love somebody else until you love yourself. I'm not sure how I feel about it because, as I mentioned, I was in a really difficult, tough spot when me and my now fiance, we're getting married in a few months.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Reconnected. We had first met in high school and then didn't talk for years. So I was in a really difficult spot. So again, that has been a journey and I have to give him a shout out. Not because the bar is so low, okay? You know, sometimes I'll make a video, I've gained and lost 200 pounds in this almost 7-year relationship with him. That is significant. It's significant. And I think to stick with someone, he never one time made me feel anything about my body. And if someone gains 80 pounds in a year and a half or 2 years, there are changes. We can just be plain and simple about that. There are. And I don't think that you're a horrible person if you have likes or dislikes more or less. I hope that they're, you know, based on really what you like and not just diet culture. But Ian never said anything. So I do think for sure that being with a human who's a genuine soul.
This is such an important thing you're talking about, right? Because, you know, our partners are raised in diet culture just like we are, right? And, you know, for some, they realize too late that they're very, very, very connected to what something looks like. And it becomes a deal breaker in a relationship when a body changes a lot, which is a very, very unfortunate and needless thing to happen. For others, they don't say anything because they don't want to offend. That's not what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing is that it didn't occur to him to say anything because he couldn't care less, because what he's in love with is you and the essence of you and all that is you. And whatever is this body bag that we walk around in just so we can identify each other, that's not the issue. The real issue is the essence, the soul, the core of you. That's what he's in love with, and that only evolves. It doesn't devolve. So it's really a beautiful, beautiful thought.
Thank you.
And one of the things that you've really done is invited him into your relationship with your body, right? It's not, what do you think, like pushing him out. I'm not going to let you touch, which I hear a lot. I'm not going to let my partner touch me. I don't want them to touch my belly. I don't want them to see me naked. I don't want them to see the rolls. And you've invited him into your relationship with your body and invited the world to watch that. And so I'm wondering what you would say to people who are like, oh, I don't know that I could let my partner touch my belly. I don't know that I would, invite them into this vulnerability of how I feel about myself.
Yeah, so I guess I would ask, how's that going for you? Like, has that helped your intimate life? Has that helped you, when you push his hand away or her hand away or their hand away, when you bend over in the shower and they see your rolls or sagging breasts, has that helped you feel more confident when you push their hand away? Why not try something else? Why not one time? Try something else one time. And then another,
Right.
be slow. If you want to step back, it's not, it's whatever you want to make it, right? It doesn't need to be a scary thing. But I would really ask yourself, how is it going with what I'm doing? Because
Yeah.
there's a reason why they're listening, right?
And the other thing, Hannah, that you talked about, you actually demonstrate is I have navigated weight change with my partner. And so, what does that look like to navigate weight change? Because you've talked about a significant weight gain, significant weight loss. What came up? What did you learn in that process?
So I would say that it's been similar to my own personal self-love journey. It's been a number of years. Ian and I have been together for 6+ years. So, I've taken my time. It's been slow and steady. It hasn't been linear. Sometimes I move forward, sometimes I move back. So those are just little lessons that I would try and keep in mind. Because when we feel like it has to be black and white, or when we feel like we have to feel so sexy in front of them every time, or when we look in the mirror, that to me, it kind of sucks, because then when you don't feel like that, for me at least, oh my gosh, I'm such a loser. How has it taken this long? I really thought I'd found my way. But if it's okay, Han. Not every day you need to feel so connected. Things feel a lot lighter. And I'll mention too, like logistically, what did we do?
Mm-hmm.
So when I mentioned that I'd been in a pretty toxic relationship before with an older guy, and weird like sexual dynamics as well. And so
Yes.
with Ian, I would get sick, and it was something with my anxiety. And so even just him touching my leg, just like a soft, loving touch, really put my body into fight or flight. So we took our time. Again, I was vulnerable with him. I spoke, because I cannot have a relationship that's based on shame.
I can imagine that there are people listening now thinking, first of all, I hope they're thinking how brave and courageous you are to be talking about this. And, but Ian's very special and there's only very few Ians out there, so what chance do I have? That may or may not be true. But I think what the most important thing I'm hearing is speak your truth. Speak it slowly, speak it carefully, speak it honestly, but speak your truth. Because in a way, not that you intended it to be, it's a litmus test. And he passed the test because he went at your pace. He understood and believed everything you told him. And because, again, he's so connected with the essence of you, the core of who you are, he's like, well, sure, I'll take my time, whatever you need.
Yeah,
And
he
and
is.
it sounds like he's very, very empathetic to the idea that you're going to have memories of things that have happened in your past, just like he does, by the way, that could somehow be more present than other days.
Right, but like I said before, right, we all have our crap, right?
Yes,
And
of course.
I mean, I'll say too, I love Ian so much and I give him so much credit, but it's also been a journey with him. We have an amazing couples therapist who, by the way, you should see before things are so chaotic. We waited till they were bad in our relationship, and now we've been seeing her for about 2 years, and she's incredible, and it's a totally different relationship than before.
Great, you're busting another myth. Thank you. People think if you need to see a couples counselor before you even get married, then you shouldn't probably be marrying that person. No, that's not true. You have two adults, no matter what age, who are entering a relationship with all the baggage that preceded that moment.
Right.
What is the chance that they're just going to mix it in well? If you need facilitation, big deal. It doesn't
Right.
mean that the relationship is bad.
Well, and I want to add my 2 cents to that idea of really getting support to start with, having been married for about 30 years, which is we did see somebody before we got married so that we were both speaking the same language, right? We were coming from different places, speaking different languages about our past, speaking different languages about how we communicate in relationship. And so to have some tools, have some ways to communicate is so powerful. And Hannah, one of the things that I also really wanted to touch on in this conversation is how has your relationship with your body changed as you have changed weight? Because it's one of the things that I hear over and over. Oh, I've gained weight now, it's just vitriol between me and my body. Oh, I've lost weight. Now it's just fear. my gosh, I'm going to gain weight. So what are you seeing in the in navigating body changes in your life?
And can I just say one thing about the therapy first?
Yes.
Please.
So again, if we can zoom out, we're taking two people, maybe completely different backgrounds. Ian and I have completely different backgrounds, and we're expecting them to live happily ever after for 80 years. Like, can we be realistic for a second?
Yes.
That is so tough. If we were able to take the stigma away and just go to a third party and say, hey, this is how I see it. This is how I see it. Where are we meeting in the middle? Because this is not working, which is really what it was with Ian and I.
Sure.
Let's talk. Let's figure out, not everything needs to be this. Again, place of shame. Zoom out. Do you want to be happy or not? Ian and I were not happy in the beginning for a number of years. We got to a point. Do we want to continue this or change? Change, push down the egos. Let's figure it out. It's a tool. It's
But
a
I also
tool.
hear, I have to just say, we'll come back to your question in a second, Nina. I also have to say, Hannah, that I'm hearing that you both have tenacity. You hang in there. So many people are like, yeah, by the fourth date, nah, bye-bye. The fact that you actually were having some struggles and hung in, not because you had to, you wanted to, and then said, well, okay, this could actually still be better. That's a remarkable choice that you made together.
Thank you. But there was a base of love and respect and wanting to stick together because in the beginning of our relationship, and not, like I would say at least 2 months, we couldn't do much sexually or even like touching. And so our relationship was really based on talking and both of us opening up. And what Ian said that he loved most about me in our first date was we talked about stuff. It wasn't like, oh, who are your best friends, or do you still talk to people in high school? That's where we first met. It was like more vulnerable, real stuff. Because again, like, what are you going to get out of a relationship or friendship or, conversation that's like, yeah, how's your sister doing? I want to talk about life. I would say like 6 months ago, I was talking to my mom, and it was about my hair, having long hair, and also having fat on my stomach. And these are things that I feel keep me safe. And whether it's because I have a memory and video in my head of when my bubby was passing away in the hospital, me eating sushi, and every bite felt more full and warm inside, or whatever, association I have. I think that when I'm at a lower weight, it's more uncomfortable for me because I feel less safe. I feel less padding. I feel less armor. So that's been really interesting. Yeah, so it's always changing, but I really want to make that point because everyone says, oh, you'll like yourself when you lose the weight or 10 pounds or 50 or 100 pounds. For me, it's been the opposite. For me, it's been comforting to have, squish on my belly and to feel like I kind of have that outer armor with the world. I think like a bit of a defense.
Utterly remarkable that you not only have figured this out, that you have this insight, but that you can say that out loud, because for most of the world, that is just heresy. What do you mean? To have more of your body makes you feel better? Well, yes, because actually it's your body.
Right.
And imagine the pressure that's released, not having to judge it, do something about it, just to have your body be your body.
In conversation with women, I hear often how their size is supporting and serving them, that their size has made them feel safe moving through the world, that their size has served them in order to diffuse unwanted attention. And yet, what they're being told is life will get better for you when you're in a smaller body. And when they can really be in that authenticity that you're talking about, to go, oh, my body is serving me right now. My size is my armor. And it's so important. It's not everybody's experience, but I have heard countless stories that are very similar.
Well, and it's also when I felt most strong and physically healthy is when I've, there's the scale, right? Like, and I don't mean the actual scale, but I mean, there's a range. But at times it's been when I've been at a higher weight. Sure. And when I was, struggling with eating and different things, with Ian, I was my lowest and I felt really weak. And so I also want, I want to change up everything in my brain in terms of diet culture and what and all of us have been so brainwashed to believe. And I want, I want to find what works for me. I want to find what works for me. I want to find what's healthy and I want to find what's strong. I love, love, love being strong, and so whatever that will be, but I want to throw out this idea that I was weak when I was, when I was thinner, and that I, couldn't succeed and couldn't be that girl who was struggling but also succeeding in different places. I just want to figure it out for myself. You know,
Imagine if the idea is the body size actually doesn't matter.
Right.
That it doesn't actually matter at all. Now, what does that mean? Well, first of all, you can bet your bottom dollar there's lots of folks listening right now who say, yeah, but don't you understand? If I'm in a smaller body, number one, people will like me better. Number two, I'll be healthier. Yeah, put a pin in that, because healthy has a lot of definitions, and I love the way you say, what I like is to feel strong. To me, this is the gold standard. To me, that's the objective. And everybody's ability to feel strong is so different and subjective. And it has nothing to do with body size. It has to do with all the hard work that you've been doing and now, obviously inspiring others as well. Honey, you talked about the fact that this started with journaling. Do you still journal now, and does it become sort of the basis on which you do some of your posts?
can I just hit on a point that you said before?
Sure, of course.
So again, let's be realistic. Sure, maybe someone listening says, okay, but I don't want to be, 1,200 pounds because that is not healthy. And I don't want to be 40 pounds because that's not healthy. No problem. Okay. You feel people treat you better, which honestly, in my experience, I've had the same. So you have all these things that also you may want to be thinner or smaller, whatever it may be. Okay. No problem. What if you take that thought and also combine it with, but before I go for my run today, I'm going to look at myself and say, thank you. Thank you, body. And just give a tap on my stomach or a little hug. It doesn't need to be one or the other. And see, in 2 years, if you still had those thoughts every day, but if you also combined it with your truth or zoom out, a truth, what would that look like? Because I do think, and I get comments a lot of, well, how can I go from 0 to everything, right? 0 to 100. What do? You start thinking. You set up the mirror. You put up one note in your house. You have one alarm to go off every Monday at 2:43 p.m. that says thank you. You sit for 30 seconds in the mirror on the first of every month. It doesn't need to be, in my opinion, the all or nothing, right? Because then that's when we have these expectations and then we don't fit them perfectly and then we feel like crap.
Sure.
Just
Hannah,
see.
one of the things that you're saying over and over is change the conversation, right? I'm changing the conversation from what I want to be, what everybody says I'm supposed to be, which is smaller and in a smaller body. No, I want to feel strong. I want to feel authentic. I want to feel powerful, right? Whatever, let's change that conversation. Let's change the conversation in the mirror. If I'm in a critical conversation, okay, thank you. Okay, hi, beautiful, right?
Or walk away.
Or walk away, right? Change the conversation you're having with yourself, and the expectations also then slightly start to change as well.
So my question earlier was, are you still journaling? And is it a source of, fodder and inspiration? And does it inform some of what you post?
Yeah, so when I mentioned journaling before, I literally meant that I started my account as a journal that I was putting out there.
Okay.
Yeah. So do I still journal? To me, yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I mean, I have the blessing to look back and see the strides that I've made and also different things that I want to work on. But I do totally think that putting a pen to paper or, your hand to the keyboard, whatever it may be, yes, letting thoughts out has been so helpful. And also a huge thing has been connecting with people, whether it's other influencers in the space or people who are part of my community that I feel so blessed and honored care to be here. That's wild to me still.
Well, you mentioned your community, and I know that we're all part of several communities. No one's ever part of one, at least we hope not. Do you get any kind of public reactions to when you post about your own ethnicity?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm Jewish, proudly Jewish, as you can see. And of course, I mean, anti-Semitism is at a huge rise, and it doesn't really matter what you post. If you post, about Jewish joy, you get the comments, right? So of course, but whether it's somebody saying, I've had some horrible comments.
Yes.
That are gut-wrenching, and it's kind of like, okay. But just like the people calling me like an elephant or whale who shouldn't be on the beach, you are not happy. You are not happy, And if you believe all Jews are horrible devils, you're not happy, you're sick. No, thank you, pass on,
Yeah, but this is part of your inspiration, Hannah, right? The fact that, we are all subject to needless criticism that has no basis. You, on the other hand, have put yourself out into this public space knowing that there will be some who love it, honor it, follow it, really value it, and others who are going to say, what the hell do you know? And by the way, while I'm at it, here's what's wrong with you in this way, in this way, in this way. And you do it anyway.
Yeah, those
And
comments.
And you also are reflecting back that their judgment speaks volumes about them and not about you, which is an important message for everybody to hear a million times a day when we're thinking, oh, someone's going to judge me. Sure, of course, we're very judgy humans and somebody's going to judge, but that says everything about them and not you. And that's what you're embodying over and over when you're raw and vulnerable and real and really expose yourself to all sorts of people's stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the people who are calling me a disgusting human are not the people that I care to offend at all. It's like the women that follow me, they are the people who I really care to people please, and too much. It has gotten to be too much at this point, and I need to kind of find the middle ground again. But no, seriously, again, zoom out. Have you sat there and thought you've spent 20 minutes texting or typing rage, horrible messages to people? I never have. And I've been in low places, but I've never felt the need.
Well, it's also a very anonymous world that we live in, right? People have a lot of guts when it comes to either posting anonymously or not something that you need to say to someone verbally. So everybody seems to get guts when it comes to that. I do want to mention, as we continue, and we'll say it again, that your Instagram is That Girl Hannah, right?
With no I.
Right, THATGRLHANNAH, just in case people are dying to follow you, which I'm sure they are.
Well, and I loved Hannah in the beginning. You said, can I be that girl who also has this, and that girl who also feels this way, and that girl. And what you're saying in your public, how you show up publicly is, I can be that girl Hannah. Right? Which is gives each person authority. You can be that girl Jenny. I can be that girl Nina. We can be
Now, wait
ourselves.
a second. I haven't been a girl in a long
I was going to say that grown woman, Jenny.
That woman.
That adult.
That would be me. Yes, okay. So, when is your wedding?
August 3rd.
Okay, and I want to just touch on that for a minute because my theory about these things is that from the period of time where you say, yes, I will marry you, or yes, we will marry, to the day that you say, yes, I do, I will, proclaim my love for you, that is supposed to be the funnest time on the planet. Did you notice it isn't for many brides particularly? Did you notice that it's hell? And maybe you have your own private little hell about it too.
No.
I don't understand. I do understand. What I don't like is that it has become the quintessential pressure cooker about body, pleasing everybody, how much money can I spend on this or not spend on this. It has become such a stressful period that when they finally get to wedding day, two things. One, they forgot this wasn't about the wedding, this was about the marriage.
Right.
And two is, it's almost like a relief, it'll be over. Instead of looking forward to this lovely, lovely occasion. And it's where, I guess, Bridezilla's come from. I'm not saying you're one. But it's a shame to me because that period of time should be so special. So I hope it has been in some ways for you.
No, it's been amazing for me. And I actually hate the term bridezilla, and this is why. Because I feel like we're not expected to have reaction or wants for our weddings, and we're bridezilla if we are. Like, I've been so worried to sometimes, give feedback to a vendor because I'm like, but I don't want to be seen as pushy or difficult. And just by me saying, I don't know, if I love that, or, if the $6,000 spent on, a centerpiece is worth it. You know what I mean? So, but again, it's about the intention behind it. Me and my mom had a conversation before we really got into planning, and it was what kind of experience do you want to have? And I don't need a million options in front of me because that to me isn't fun. And exactly what you said, I think the process of planning a wedding and getting married and all of that has become horrible for so many, like you said, specifically the women, because it's gotten into comparing. If you haven't gone to Mexico to an all-inclusive with your, 12 or 23 bridesmaids, then what kind of batch did you have? Bachelorette. And it's like,
Yikes.
right. Or if the bride isn't spending $800 on the bridesmaids bags that you have at the
Oh
bachelorette,
my goodness.
what kind of experience are you giving? Right.
Well, I mean, we have to acknowledge privilege here, right? I mean, there are
Yeah.
those that can do that financially, and there's lots of other privileges that come into place. But no matter what the relative extent of the wedding is to be to anyone, it's the same pressure, and it's just a shame because to me, it's an extension of diet culture. It's an extension of people pleasing. It's an extension of I love how you talk about, well, I don't know if I really want to tell a vendor that I don't like what they're showing you. Why? I'm going to be paying them money. That's why I should be telling them what I want. Oh, and by the way, they don't care. They just want you to have what you want, and they want you to have a lovely day. And in whatever way they can contribute, they don't care whether you tell them the truth or not. They won't know.
Right.
So
Well, it
again,
speaks to
no,
needs, right? Hannah, you're saying, are we as women allowed to have our needs, right?
exactly.
Are we allowed to speak our needs? Are we allowed to speak our feelings? It comes right back to the very beginning. Are we allowed to be authentically and fully ourselves at whatever volume, at whatever size, at whatever the way we want to express it? And I'm curious, speaking about weddings, how has it been wedding shopping, wedding dress shopping?
Yeah, wedding dress shopping was actually amazing. I had a great time. I went with my mom, who I'm obviously very close with, and we had the best time. I was pretty nervous going in that they would have my sizes because based on Say Yes to the Dress that I watched growing up, they didn't offer many plus sizes. And so, yeah, I for sure was worried about that. That was kind of the only worry that I had. I love hanging out with my mom and I love shopping and I love weddings. And like I said, like I've really made an effort to have a nice time and like not feel like my world is burning and crashing. But I was shocked. I only went to 3 stores, found my dress at the second one, but I was able to fit into tons of different dresses. And at the one boutique that it was more difficult, they had like different fabrics that they just strapped on. So I never, ever, ever felt anywhere uncomfortable, shamed. No, I had a lovely experience. Yeah, lovely experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to just say, if I can, first of all, that we love your mother already. Because no, I'm serious. It's very interesting the role that we can play, as parents, as mothers, right? She obviously, is on her own journey and learns as she goes along too. But I hear, as you mention her, that she has some sense about her. She really does.
She
And there's
does.
sort of like this very matter of fact, like, well, it doesn't have to be all that way. And I just love that she's a support in your life.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. I should have mentioned my mom was a social worker. She's now retired.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
And a therapist
All
for
right,
right.
sure. That makes
My
sense
Zadie
now.
was the
Okay.
first psychiatrist in Calgary and Jewish, and my dad's a psychologist and also like
Oh,
a very gentle,
nice.
loving man. Yeah, so I do
Okay.
have
Very
incredible
nice.
parents, and I had incredible grandparents who taught me so much about
That's
the
great.
values and how I want to live.
Well, and emotional intelligence, and also about being able to speak about feelings. And it also speaks to the impact of the people we have around us, right? Your mom is not in there being critical. She's being in there being supportive. Ian is in there being supportive, not critical. And who are we surrounding ourselves with? Because we do, whether we have great boundaries or not, we're going to drink up some of what's around us. And if
Yes.
what's constantly being reflected is you as a human are a beautiful being, oh, okay, then that's who I am.
So I'm thinking about the people that are listening now and thinking, well, I'm screwed because that's not how I got raised. I didn't get that kind of support. And the answer is no, you're not. Because this is all how we learn. From the people we get it from them, from the people we didn't
We
get it
don't.
from. That's right. And don't. It's really about self-love. And that's to me at the heart of the journey. And it's as you say, not linear, is it?
At all. I mean, I've been on this for over 7 years and it's not linear at all. And there was a point, and it was actually at my highest, that I was like, I think I've cracked the code. Like, I F with myself so hard. I am the sexiest, the most capable. I can do anything. Like, I think I've cracked the code. And then it was when I don't want to say focusing on health. I'm not sure how to phrase that correctly.
Yeah,
But
no, sure.
I lost some weight. And then I was in a place again that I was like, ugh, I'm not comfortable right now. I don't feel safer at home with my body. And I was like, I was so disappointed because I really
By the way, in
felt
that moment of disappointment, you cracked the code again.
right,
Actually, I mean,
right,
it
Yeah.
was painful, and I don't minimize that, but you actually cracked the code again because
right.
it isn't about that, is it?
It's not. It's not.
But it's the term that I often use that I coined called being body current, right? This is where I am in this body at this current time. This is my experience, and it's valid.
Right.
And that's what you kept coming and you keep coming back to, Hannah. That's very powerful. And I think as an example to others, here I am in my body. This is the relationship I'm having. Here's the relationship I'm having with my partner. Here's the relationship we're having in sexually. Here's the relationship we're having just when we get dressed in the morning. Here's the relationship I'm having with the mirror right now. And that being in the now with self-compassion is cracking the code.
And it's all being based on being vulnerable and raw. And it's hard. Like, still, some conversations that I have with Ian are hard. You know, you think that after being in a relationship with someone for 5 years, and still I had the hard time really trusting that how is there no way that he doesn't want me to be smaller? But I don't get it. You know, I'm like, I look like an ape who's about to breastfeed their baby when I'm sitting in the bathtub. Ian, how do you actually, like, how? I couldn't understand. And it took really, like, I would say 5 years. It's only been in the last few years that I genuinely trust that he loves me, you know? But it really has been through the conversations and the tough ones. But it's okay.
And there it was right in front of you, right? And imagine the people that don't yet have the partner they want and are wondering, how will that person ever love me? He was right there. He kept saying, but I do, and I do, and I do. And you can say, no, but no, you don't. How do you know you do? Until you came to the party and understood that what he was saying is what he meant. What he's attracted to is the essence of you. And that's, to me, that's such a big takeaway.
Well, and it's again, like, you know, diet culture has brainwashed us so much that I had such a hard time for 5 years, Hannah, of a man telling me, Hannah, I love you. I don't care what you look like. 5 years, you know, it impacts, and it continues to impact me, of course, in so many ways. But I just don't want that. I can't, you know?
Yeah.
Sure.
And yeah, I was very lucky to have been brought up in a household that therapy and speaking was pretty normal. But when Ian and I went to our couples appointment, the first thing that our therapist said was, I've never met a couple that is so different from one another. That freaked me out. That terrified me. Jenny, I see your eyes. Oh, how comforting. I was anxious attachment and he was avoidant. Like 100%, you know, I come from a loud Jewish family. We're emotional. We speak. Everybody talks over each other. It's fine. His family, they take turns. They're quiet, you know, so also our relationship has very much evolved. But again, it was based on the difficult conversations. They're tough. Life is tough. What do you want out of it? What do you want out of it? Most people...
We like to think of couples therapy as a blender. We like to blend everything and see how we shake it up. We have to add a little ice, but usually it works out. You know, there's a lot of blending.
But it was the same sort of thing in the beginning. I could not trust that he really was going to stay. I just, you know, anxious attachment, right? And then at a point, it's like, Hannah, he's still here. We're still working through things, you know? What if you made the decision this Saturday when you guys have sex on Shabbos? What if you made the decision to trust that he genuinely finds you attractive when you're lying down and your boobs go out like this? How different may it be? And it let me be present. So then the next 30 times that we were intimate, if things came into my brain, I said, no, but Han, he's enjoying. He is not worried. He's good. It's you. What experience do you want? And like that's taken, I would say 2 years. Now it's so different. I'm present with him, you know, and it's, again, based on the small comments in the beginning. Babe, can you just touch me right there? 2 seconds. Just put your hand in that little crevice. I just want to see how it feels. And if you're not there yet, go to the mirror the next night when you're alone and do it yourself. You know, it's steps. It's not all or nothing.
What a beautiful place to leave us. It's gorgeous just to be able to speak your truth, speak what you need, ask for what you want. You may or may not get it, but ask for what you want.
Yeah.
To be honest. You know, Hannah, it's a privilege, really a privilege to have you with us. Tell everyone again your handle.
Of course. Yeah. So I have that Instagram and TikTok. I'm more on Instagram. And it's That Girl Hannah without an I. So ThatGrlHA.
Hannah, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you both so much, Nina and Jenny. This was amazing. I'm so touched and honored that you invited me on. And I thank you both for what you do. You know, these conversations are so integral to our health, mind, body, and
Thank
soul,
you.
and all of it. And it's so important, you know, and there are people who want to change.
Thank you.
That's the truth.
We're so glad you joined us on this episode of Body Peace.
Stay connected as we continue exploring what it means to live in your body with more ease, trust, and care by subscribing to Body Peace on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen.
Be sure to visit us at bodypeacepodcast.com for special bonus content for those on our mailing list.